Right, well, welcome. And if you're watching this live or even later on today, it is lovely to have you here. And Happy New Year. Let's hope 26 is a little bit better than 25. It's hard doing those numbers, isn't it, off the top of your head like that? So hopefully all is good with you. And I welcome you to this live. Now, what am I talking about with New Year, New Keir? What's the purpose of this live today? Well, here's the thing. Politicians have long understood the effect that a new year has on all of us, and they pretty relentlessly and remorselessly use it to try and get us to believe them, to buy into them, to reconnect with them. So in the last couple of days, you've seen various announcements about Keir. If you check your local news, whatever news items you like to read today, you'll find out that there's a lot of spiel about Keir Starmer's going to try and reconnect with his MPs in the next 2 months. He's going to try and reconnect with the voting public. And that's because we're in January. I hate to sound all cynical. It's because we are in January. It's the sole reason. Now, if you are, this is a non-political statement. It's about politics, but it's not me saying one's better than the other. The last one was shambles. But if you have any awareness of this, you will have seen that largely backbench MPs in the Labour Party have been pretty disappointed with Keir. They had an incredible win a year and a half ago, a proper landslide. And since then, by all accounts, Keir has largely had very little to do with his backbenchers, the people who arguably have put him where he is, who allow him to stay where he is. In addition, it is worth pointing out that if we think in terms of the ability to make difference, which is what politicians are supposed to be there for, right? That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be wanting to make some difference, some improvements to the world, and we have to assume that's probably the same for Keir. If that is true, then it is the backbenchers that allow things or stop things from happening. And so, isn't it interesting that now, of all times, with his popularity in the absolute plumb depths, with the Labour Party, so it's sunk so fast from a massive win just a year and a half ago. Why is it now that Keir Starmer is starting to talk about new connections and new launches and everything's going to be great? Well, partly because this is when politicians always plan this. New Year makes a good time. It's partly because you and I want to believe. So no matter how cynical or world weary we are, there's a bit of us that thinks, well, I don't want it to all go to shit. I want it to be better. I'd like things to be better. And so when a politician says at this time of year, things in this year are going to start to feel better, you're going to they'll use this phrase, have more money in your pocket. You'll start to feel that things are turning a corner. You've got to start digging into this, both the psychological aspects behind it and the reality of the economy. So that's why this pitch is happening now. You will this year start to feel better. You'll have more money in your pocket. You'll start to feel Britain's going in the right direction. But let me ask you, is this matching your experience? Because there are a couple of things that we need to think about. Germful, based on YouTube, is saying the UK is cooked. Cerisai, not sure how to pronounce that. Anyway, hi to you also on YouTube. We have a few people also on Insta. Platmat, a landslide, 30% of the public abstained from voting. People complaining about the Labour Party. They didn't vote, which technically was a yes for Labour. Yeah, Platmat, I mean, we can kind of argue, and I suspect you enjoy an argument as long as you like about whether that is technically a win, but it was a win. Doesn't matter whether you approve it or not, that's what it was. Same in Australia, she's German base. Happy New Year from Alligator Alcatraz, keeping America safe. Excellent. Thank you for that, Wes Cruz. And Jan Hamilton, 67. Don't know what's going on with that, but of course, yes. That's a bit out of date, isn't it, Jan? Anyway, welcome to you. Where was I? Yes. Now, these are 4 claims you're going to hear from Keir. This is what he's going to talk about in the next 2, 3, 4 days. He's going to talk about a 2-child cap, which of course they lifted to a lot of acclaim. They're kind of made to do it. They're going to talk about interest rates going down. They're going to talk about energy bills going down. And they're going to claim that you feel better off. I'm going to take these 4 claims one by one. Let's look first of all, because he says we should all feel better because the 2-child cap was lifted. And he is claiming credit for doing this. So let's remember a couple of things. First of all, They didn't really want to do this. They were backed into a corner by their backbench MPs who are not supportive of the government and the ministers at all. And if Keir and Rachel were better at negotiating than they are at the moment, which is diabolically bad, they would have said, all right, we'll give you the 2-child cap lift if you give us something we want. And as we know, both Keir and Rachel wanted to end the heating support payments for older folk, and they wanted to reduce benefit payments. They were two things they wanted to do, neither of which backbenchers let them do. So if they were better at doing what they're supposed to be good at, they could have said, all right, we'll give you those things, but in return, this is what you want. But of course, they didn't do that. They just said, yeah, here it is. But let's go down to this, right? So first of all, it's now being presented as a win and a benefit to all of us, but it's not a benefit to all of us. The lifting of the 2-child cap benefits a tiny minority of this country. The vast majority, and I don't know whether we're talking 95%, 98%, but we're talking pretty much statistically the entire country is going to have a higher cost to bear in order to support people who have decided to have more children that they can't afford. Before you go down the route of, yeah, but life changes, sometimes things happen. Yes, it does, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people that just keep popping out sprogs. And this country has decided that they can be infantilized and you don't have to worry about it because we'll pay for it. So I don't think the lifting of the 2-child cap is a massive benefit, even though Keir is going to tell us it is. It is sold as compassion. What it actually is redistribution without consent. And so we are 100% clear about this. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor didn't want to do it. If you have read any of the press in the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long it is, since they said they're going to lift the 2-child cap, you will struggle to find many people saying it's a good idea. You will find people churning out that same story. Yeah, but life changes. Sometimes things happen. Think of the kids. And those are all strong arguments, but they don't get past the point, absolutely, that this is just as I saw a comment there that I also want to just refer to. Excuse me. Dear. Vernon David, it's hackneyed propaganda, inculcating in the hope that repetition will blind us to reality. That's Vernon on Facebook. I think you're right, Vernon. That is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. It is them telling us it's a good thing. Haven't we done well? But in fact, in reality, Keir and Rachel, the two most powerful people supposedly in politics, were told what to do. They were handed their collective arses on a plate by the backbenchers, because the backbenchers, like many politicians, have no concept of real work. And so therefore, the vast majority of the country can pay a shed load more money for a tiny percentage. That's the first win that Keir is going to present you. I want you to keep that in mind. Here's the second one, interest rates. As interest rates start to go down, your farmer, right, he's going to tell us that interest rates are going down. Isn't that great? Isn't that because of the choices they made? Let's remember something. When Gordon Brown took the credit for making the Bank of England independent from the a bunch of communists in power, right? Because that's what they did. Bank of England sets interest rates. They did it very, very clearly so they could say, nothing to do with us. But if you noticed, and the last government did this as well, every time interest rates go up, the government rushes to tell us it's nothing to do with them. It's set by the Bank of England. It's independent, and they must do what they must do. But I've been very clear that our job is to get the blah, blah, blah. Right, you've seen it before. But the moment the interest rates fall, Keir and Rachel are clamouring to tell us, yeah, we did that. Same as they're clamouring to tell us that they raised minimum wage. No, all they did was say raise minimum wage. And then all the companies that have to pay minimum wage had to put extra work in, raise their prices, charge more people more money. Everybody had to pay more money for those goods and services. All those members of staff likely had to work harder because bosses were going, well, need a bit more in return for the extra money. So that's what actually happened. They did nothing, but interest rates are set by the Bank of England. And when rates rise, governments say nothing to do with us. When rates fall, government says we fix that. You can't have it both ways. We have all noticed it. And by the way, if we are going for growth, if we're going for further and faster, if we're supporting the right thing to do, then if you're somebody who's saving, if you're somebody who's not a burden on the state, unlike your standard Labour supporter, if you are somebody who actually puts money to one side and gives stuff up and makes some sacrifice to try and do the right thing, here's the interesting thing. Interest rates going down isn't great, is it? Because interest rates going down means you make less return on your money. Let's look at the third of Keir Starmer's claims. And I will take your questions, your comments, your observations in just a moment. Let's do a quick check. By the way, if you are liking us live, we are broadcasting on Insta, YouTube and Facebook. Please take a time to follow. Please take a time to give me a bit of love if you can. On Insta, I think it's a wave or a like or a thing, something like that. I think it's the same on YouTube. Facebook, you have stars. Now, stars cost you, I think, 1 cent per star. However, the important thing, if you decide to share with me a couple of stars or other, is that it helps the algorithm to know that you like the way that this content is going. Doesn't mean you agree with everything I'm saying, of course, but you might just like the fact that there is some conversation here and there is a little bit of discussion about something you might be finding interesting. I'm just going to pick up a couple of your messages and I'm going to carry on with the next point that Keir Starmer is going to tell us is making things so much better for all of us. I feel bad for you in the UK, says Robbie from New York on YouTube. They do that in the USA, says Rebel Lady, also on YouTube. It's going to get that way. I'm from the US and I'm sick of it. Hey, man, sorry I'm running late. Okay, that's a bit of a weird one. Not sure where we're going with that. Can't stand politicians, says David Vickers. All politics, all of them don't care about anyone except their own needs. And New Year, same bullshit. I think that's where we're going, David. You would rather children go hungry. Right, there it is. There's the classic one, NMBP 6DY. You see, what you're doing, because you have, I would suggest, an inability to understand what's actually happening here, is to go, oh, well, that's the only solution. No, nobody wants children to go hungry. Of course. And that's why politicians and not so able supporters of Labour say, it's the children, think of the children. But that's kind of the wrong argument. So it might be that some people need some targeted support. Giving people who have shown themselves unable to manage their lives more money is only going to end one way. And if you are unable to see that, what you're actually doing is propagating the idea that more children should come into the world for parents who cannot support them, who have no ability to support them. And that is where all those horrible, horrible stories happen. So that's what you are saying you prefer. Because if you have 2 children, 3 children, and then your life changes, the partner illness or sickness or loss of job or something, right? That is the argument that is always held up, that immediately after think of the children. But what you are failing to tackle is couple or individual don't have any money, don't have any job, don't have any physical means to support themselves and have a child. Then get given more money, still don't have any physical means to support themselves and have another child. That's the bit that you are failing to deal with. As Rebel says, I chose never to have children or marry. Ed Keel on YouTube is going to have a moan about something. That's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Let's just do that. Why isn't there a minimum wage, says Alex? A minimum wage? I don't know. Interest rates go up. It's not their fault if they stay. They do. The minimum wage stays the same. Absolutely germ. Starmer is a wanker, says Smoking on YouTube. It's the function of confidence in the bond markets. Liz Truss's example. That's true. Jeremy Corbyn. Thank God he never got it. He'd have been a disaster, wouldn't he? Pick my comment about Starmer, says Smoking. The only ones to gain from inflationary economics are the government who scrape more tax from spending. The rest of us do not benefit. Any rise in income is generally swallowed by price increases required by businesses to stay afloat. Still watching you from Bali. Thank you very much, Vernon. And on Insta, let me just pick up there. I'm going to go back to my notes. Totally agree with you. It is common sense. Why are the government blind to this? That's Joan over on Insta. All right, let's pick up where I was. So we talked about interest rates. Let's talk about energy bills. Starmer is going to make a great deal of announcements about how energy bills are going down. And again, this will, of course, all be down to him and his brilliant work. But they've been at massive highs. Huge. So this is a little bit like holding somebody's head down the toilet in a school bullying incident and repeatedly doing it till they keep nearly drowning, and then pulling them out by the scruff of their neck, slapping them round the face and going, "You're not drowning anymore. I did that." That's what Keir Starmer's ridiculous claim that energy bills are going down. It's not relief. It is damage control. And this last claim he's going to make, we're all starting to feel more positive. We're all starting to feel more hopeful. We're all starting to feel more confident in the UK. No, I'm feeling confident in other men and women who are doing their very best to get through, whether they are PAYE, whether they are self-employed, whether they're running little businesses. Frankly, if you're somebody who isn't working, but you are contributing to your local community, that is where I see confidence. That's where I see spark in people and a drive and a desire to look after your family, to look after yourself, and to help people around you. That's where I have confidence and warm, fuzzy feelings. That's where I'm getting a rush of, yeah, new year. But I see none of that from the state, the bloated public sector, from our frankly useless, utterly useless government machinery. It is overcharging us at every step, and it is under-delivering at every step. It has been this way for many years. The current government is increasing its inefficiency. The current government is allowing it to charge ever more and slow up and do less. That is what we've got. So do I have enthusiasm, confidence that the country is turning a corner, that prices are coming down, that I've got more money in my pocket? If I've got more money in my pocket, Keir Starmer, it's because I've worked a little bit harder, because I've added a new income stream. It's because I've taken more risks. It's because I've saved something. I put something else to one side and had a success. So if I have got more money, that is the sole reason why. No other reason than that. UK has its own gas and oil. Why are we paying 4 times the going rates, says Marcus? Absolutely. Because ideologically, which is where Labour absolutely hammers things, it would rather shut down wind farms, pay to have them shut down our own fossil fuel creation, and pay more to have it imported so that they can say, we are using less. Alan over on Insta, you're absolutely spot on everything you say, mate. Thank you, Alan. Tishy, also on Insta, UK retired, not feeling positive. Thank you, Tishy. Happy New Year to you as well. Oh dear, oh dear. Look at Kevin there. Let's just give him a little bit of a block. There we go. Excellent. Good. So let's continue. We are talking about Keir Starmer and his, this is why everything's going to be a lot better for us. And there is another reality that we need to understand here. Many Labour MPs feel totally ignored. So policy arrives pretty much from number 10. There, it's formed. There's no debate. Debate, where it does happen, is managed. It's not welcomed. So what we have at the moment is those people in charge of the government, and then we have everyone else. And everyone else gave them, supposedly, as we run the country at the moment, their legitimacy. They have the numbers, but they don't have the ability to draw from all of that body of representation, which is what you should be doing with the kind of government that we have. And instead, it is being run by a very narrow number of people. So they don't have that legitimacy. They just get, there's the policy, enact that. And this is why, whatever side of the chamber you are on, left or right or somewhere else, if you're a true blue conservative, if you want reform, if you are a full mad green Polanski lover, I believe Lib Dems are still a thing, but who knows? If you love chaos and just arguing for the sake of it, Corbyn and Sultana apparently are still flogging their memberships. Who would know? But the problem with all of this is that the current government is not engaging with its own people. And you've seen exactly the same tendency with us. When Keir Starmer told us no pre-warning mandatory digital ID, the entire country went, a bit worried about this. Social media exploded, don't like this. Their own MP said, not sure this is a good idea. The petition hit 3 million in like 3 weeks. Keir Starmer, questioned about digital ID, said, oh no, that's why we need to get the idea out in the public. We need to have conversations. So you'd have thought 3 million people going, we don't want it, is an example of wanting a conversation. Keir Starmer's response, oh no, we're going to ignore that. So this is what he's treating, or this is how he's treating his own MPs. So suddenly at the start of the year, which is where we are now, which is what this whole program's been about, to say to us, things are better, things are going to be better just around the next corner, is an absolute, it's a piece of bullshit. It's nonsense. He's using the start of the year because historically, emotionally, mentally, it feels like a reset. He's offering up 4 examples, none of which stack up. I've just gone through them. And he's not even taking his own government with him, his own ministers with him. Who's the country run for? That's the question. Because workers, by the way, he can't define what a worker is. Somebody who's got a checkbook. Yep, bang on there. Here, he's got no concept of what a worker is. If you run a business or a PAYE, if you report somewhere, if you have your side hustle, if you basically do something and in return you get money, you're a worker, right? Whether you are an investor, whether you work in an office, whether you talk to screens and cameras as I do, however you do that, you're carrying the load. And you and I are carrying the load whilst the non-workers are protected. Benefits got a 3.8% rise. Why? No justification for that at all. 2 child cap lift. Oh, that's to lift the children out of poverty. Right, but we're all paying for it. Not them. They don't have to do anything different in their lives. They get more money. Friends of government do well. Accountability is selective. And so his aim is that perception becomes political fact. January is borrowed optimism, but it's expiring fast, just as our hope for the new government was closing fast pretty much immediately as they got in. Almost immediately, we had those horrible events in July, and almost immediately we saw the cut of Keir Starmer. He stood up and started labeling anybody who disagreed, anybody who was upset, anybody who was angry, he started labeling them. That is how he has been throughout. So this good feeling is running down fast. And when these improvements don't arrive, backlash is going to sharpen. So he's misset the expectation, and it's all going wrong for him and for the party. So is it over for Keir Starmer? No, not yet. But the warning lights are on. Everyone knows this. The rhetoric is so far from reality now. And January optimism is going to turn into, at best, spring anger. That is when Starmer and all the other leaders are going to lose control of this story. So let me pick up any questions, comments, observations that are going on in the chat. So Tishy, always worked, always saved, never claimed a benefit, now retired and with a soft target for the share of a government. Tishy, I think that's very true. I've made the point that people in this country, there's kind of 3 types. There are people who, like you, have always worked. I've always worked. I've never claimed anything. I have household income. I have assets. If something terrible happened to me, my household, I wouldn't be eligible for anything. Now, regular claimants always challenge me on that. Go, yeah, you would, because no, I wouldn't. I'm not eligible for anything. Oh, it's because you've got enough money. You've got too much money. Yeah, but that's not the argument. If the argument is, if we all pay in, we all get the support, that isn't true. So there are people like you there, Tishy, who have always paid in, never claimed, not eligible. The second type is people who do claim and are eligible. So people who are properly sick, properly vulnerable, whether that is by age or mental ability or physical ability. There are people who require support in this country. and they get terrible support. Not enough money, not enough resource, not enough time. We should not be dashing into an old folks' home, throwing some food at them and dashing out again, and they don't see anybody for another 24 hours. It's just rubbish. Lewel, good morning and Happy New Year to you also. That's on Insta. So two types, right? Those who need support very occasionally get no support. Those who need support all the time get very poor support. And the third type, and this is what I made my video about, it's the people who are very happy to keep on taking from all of us. And it's always thrown up, yeah, but what about wealthy people? They do far more with tax breaks. Different argument. Happy to have that discussion, but I'm talking about people that are taking from the public purse. That is that third type on benefits. I would argue if you didn't have the money to support your first child and you went ahead and did it anyway, and then your second, and then your third, and then your fourth, the argument of, yeah, but think of the children, they need more money, does not apply. That needs a different intervention. I don't know what the intervention is, but keep throwing money at people is not a smart thing. Love from India. Thank you, Love Guru. Put that scammer Rachel into his position. He probably put that scammer Rachel into his position so she can scam everyone to buy some more houses and not pay any tax. I get the sense you're angry about something, but I don't know what you mean. What country? We are in the UK. Alternate account over on YouTube there. Minimum wage. How will this improve productivity? More money for the same efforts. How can it's worse than that? Minimum wage impacts businesses in ways that MPs that have never had normal jobs, let alone businesses, can ever understand. When you say this is the minimum wage and everyone has to pay that, then you actually bias employers against younger people or less experienced people. You bias them towards better people. But you can't afford to give those better people more money and a not so good person less money because there's a minimum wage. And so therefore, newer people get their first jobs, people with perhaps less confidence, perhaps less ability, let's say, less sellable ability, they are far less likely to find something into which they can grow because you're always going to go for the person who's a bit older, a bit more experience, a bit more ability. Worse than that, it impacts upwards and it distorts the market. So if I have to employ at this rate, well, I need to pay my supervisor more money. But if my business isn't doing well enough, well, I might have left it a year or two. But suddenly, no, minimum wage. Everyone gets a lift. Now, there's no point in the supervisor staying at supervisor if they earn 10p an hour more than the junior. True story. I, through most of my 20s, did terrible jobs. This was pre-minimum wage, right? In case you can't tell. And I typically earned £3.50 an hour. I took home 120 to 150 pounds per week. Once I had a job at £3.50 an hour. I did it very well. And they said, would you like a promotion? So I said, great. And they put me in charge of other people doing my £3.50 an hour job. My new pay rate was £3.75. And fine, great, you know, it's an extra 25p an hour. But at one point, there was some stupid fiddly little issue. And my boss said, this is the sort of thing we need you to sort out, Graham. You are a supervisor now. And I, honest to God, said, I get 25p an hour more. I'm genuinely not going to worry about that for 25p an hour more. And I was always a good employee, but that was a great example of what I'm talking about here, distorting. Hello, how are you? Very well, thank you, Gansbara. Today's your birthday, Maria. Happy birthday to you on YouTube. Work towards your goals and reap the benefits. Ian, with that all the way. This chap is the first person who talks sense on YouTube. I will take that. Thank you. L got stripes. That's much appreciated. Thank you for that. Let's just check up Insta and then I'm going to start to wrap this live up. Thank you all for being with us today. The problem is people who are quite happy to sit and claim benefits, and those on benefits are financially better off than those working. Lou, I've spoken about that a great deal on different videos, and of course it is. It's absolutely right. Why would you work if you got the same or nearly the same money on benefits? Because you get all the residual add-on benefits. You get cheaper council tax, you get free stuff, you get eligibility in different areas. So long as you're prepared to keep going, no, I'm on benefits, I can tick that box and tick that box, then of course you're going to do that. And there are people who deserve that and need that, and they need more support. There are people who have worked their entire lives and something happens and then they need support, but they don't get it. And then there is this absolute bunch of dole dossers. And we need to call it out because we're all paying for it. Let's just pick up the last couple of your messages and then I'm going to close this live. I really appreciate you all being here today. Professor Beaker, the many who simply see our British kindness and hospitality as a genuine weakness to be exploited. Our forefathers walked softly and carried a big stick. We now need to use the big stick. I don't know if they walked that softly, Beaker, but I get your points. Right, folks, listen, lovely to have you all here. It's been a good live. Really appreciate all your input and engagement. Make sure if you're not following me on the platform you're on right now, please do so. And consider also, as I say, sending me a couple of likes, loves, or Facebook stars. One final thing, if you really do enjoy my content, check out my profile and you will see a button there said Wealth Formula. If you touch that, you will get a little reset over 5 days. How to make money, how to save money, and how to get better balance in your life. Don't charge you for it. There's no ask for a credit card. There's no thing you have to sign up to. You literally just give us that thing. We will send you the emails over 5 days. And it's a nice way just to start to balance. It's a good thing maybe at